Do you want to make gardening easier for yourself? Well, here are over a dozen tips and tricks you need to have in your back pocket. If you have a watering can and the tip has snapped off, don't throw it away, do this instead. This might be alright for filling out the bottom of planters, but if you still want to use it like a normal watering can, you can try this easy DIY repair. All you need is a kitchen spoon. Just take the spoon, tape or tie it to the stem of the watering can. You might have to adjust how far in or out it is, but once you have it in the right position, it goes back to having a great shower flow, ready to water any plant. This next one's great. If you want to get some free plants and help curb some pest problems, check this out. You will need a rosemary plant for this one, but don't fear if you don't have one because this hack will help you get one for free. Rosemary is a natural pest deterrent for things like aphids and whiteflies. And in my garden particularly, I find it really helps for slugs and snails. Start by locating its newest and most tender growth. Then cut it at the base of that stem. Strip off all but 3 to 5 groups of leaves. And now you can whack this straight in your garden. Half of these will die, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. Half of them will set root and become their own rosemary plant. In fact, that's where I got this one from. If you don't have your own rosemary plant and you're gonna find a friend or even a public rosemary bush to propagate from, just make sure you're taking at least a good 5 or 6 cuttings in case you have a bad failure rate. That way you're at least getting 1 successful propagation out of that. The other crop that's great to do this with is garlic. Not planting rosemary in between garlic, but actually planting garlic in between other plants. You might find that garlic is great for pest control in your garden. In fact, most years, I'm always chucking a garlic bulb in between more leafy things like broccoli and cauliflower and spinach. But this year I just didn't have enough seed garlic to do that, so I've only got my one little garlic patch. Spring onions, another good one. If you want to make your own compost but don't want to accidentally spread weed seeds throughout your entire garden, try this instead. And I really hope that you want to start your own compost because it's such a great way to reuse all of your green waste. But one of the issues that we can run into with doing a home compost is if we can't get the pile hot enough, which is probably going to be the case for most of us home gardeners, we're going to fail to actually be able to sterilize the seeds that are in there. In order for that to happen, we need to get our compost pile actually quite hot. Up to 55 degrees Celsius for at least 3 days will sterilize the seeds, which unless we're doing some pretty active composting, which I think isn't actually that approachable for most home gardeners, then the weed seeds are still gonna stay in there. And then once we spread the compost out onto our garden, we're gonna have weeds popping up everywhere. I've accidentally made this mistake and I'm still paying for it a couple years later. Here's what to do instead. Any weeds that we're pulling out of the garden at the moment, instead of chucking them on the compost, put them all in the one bucket. Now it does have to be a bucket that you can put a lid on and keep airtight. And the bucket can be quite small or quite big, just depending on what's practical for your yard. Once you've got weeds in the bucket, fill it full of water. It's raining today, so I've been collecting all this rainwater. Just chuck as much material in here as you can. And then we're gonna put the lid on and let that sit for at least 2 weeks up to a couple years. Then once we're ready to use this, we're going to strain off the liquid and then we're going to use just the liquid on our garden as a homemade fertilizer. The other thing that you can do is buy these tap kits from Bunnings or online. Homebrew outlets are also a good place to buy them that you can tap into any bucket so that you could sit your weed feed up higher and then just use the tap to come along and fill your watering can. If you want all the perks of a big greenhouse but don't have the cash to splash on it, this is a great tip. Now we'd all love to have a massive, bougie, big greenhouse to extend our growing season. And we can't all fork out the couple $1,000s for those, including myself. But one thing I'm willing to bet most of us are gonna have around that can fill the same function are these big plastic storage containers. It's usually around these more wintry parts of the year that I tend to do a bit of minimizing to make sure that I can end up with a couple of these spare. So that either as I'm transferring young seedlings into my bed or on a night of really bad frost, you can just chuck these over your veggies overnight or for a couple days and you've got yourself a MacGyvered greenhouse there. The only key here is because you most likely have no ventilation in here, just once a day or so, just make sure to come out and let the plant breathe. If you're wondering why the netting's looking so shabby at the moment, last night we got absolutely smashed with wind and I haven't repaired it yet. So instead of working on repairing it, I'm giving all you guys these awesome tips. So if you're enjoying it, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And as a bonus hack, if you want a little seed starting greenhouse, these are actually perfect for them. I'm still talking about these storage containers. If you have the correct lid for it, you can just stack your seed trays on there, tip it upside down, and look at that, a little greenhouse that you've probably already got lying around. The other great thing about this is it's so easy to take your seeds inside if they still need some warmer temperatures, and then bring them back out during the day to get some much needed sun. Oh, and do not buy those cheap polyplastic greenhouses. I've bought about 3 different ones of those and they all only ever last about a year, and then you're just stuck with this massive pile of plastic that you don't know what to do with. Now the next one, if you're ever growing spring onion, and I encourage you to because it's something that you can get started pretty early in the year and it's ready to harvest usually by the time that you're ready to put all your seedlings in the garden. Let a couple of them go to flower and eventually go to seed, and then in early winter the following year you'll find that you'll have a bunch of spring onions popping up everywhere, like I do here. If you're ever in the gardening mood but it's a crappy rainy day or maybe it's the middle of winter, one great tip that you can do is this is all of my seeds organized. Now this is actually a photo storage organizer that you can get from Kmart. That's not the tip, although if you didn't know, they're pretty great. But what you can do, if you really want to set up your whole year for growing success, is these tend to come in lots of 12s. And what you could do is just label these by month and then sort your seeds by their sowing time, so that once it does come the time of the year to actually sow your seeds, you have a really stress-free catalog to just go through once every month, sow your seeds, and you're gardening for the whole year. And if you can plan well enough, it's also going to help make succession planting so much easier. Here are 2 tips for sowing tiny, delicate seeds. Things like carrots, flowers like pansies, herbs, oregano, parsley. These seeds are usually finicky and really difficult to handle. Here are 2 great tips to sow them. Make sure to save and never throw out your herb and spice shakers from the supermarket. For those smaller herb and flower seeds, these tend to be perfect. You can sprinkle them out directly onto your seed trays, direct sow if you're into chaos gardening, just throw them wherever. And plus, once you start to have a full spice rack of all of your little seeds, it's quite a fun storage solution. Bonus points if you manage to save your oregano container for your oregano seeds and your parsley for your parsley. I don't think you can buy pansy shakers. The next one works with all of them, but it comes in most handy with carrots, where in order to save your seeds, it's great to be able to space them out, but they're so tiny and delicate, it's really difficult to do by hand. But if you mix their seeds with some sand or really sandy soil, you can instead just sow a whole row of that and they will be naturally spread out. You'll be wasting less seeds and thinning less once they come in. Next up, if you have any wooden gardening tools and don't have any mineral oil or proper timber oil, or even just don't want to fork out for those, a perfectly good substitute is actually just any neutral cooking oil. I have here probably my most bougie gardening utensil, my Japanese grafting knife. Has an exposed wood case and handle that's in some desperate need of some maintenance. The key here is when we apply it, we're going to buff it off as much as we can to leave as thin a layer as possible. This is because what's happening when we're applying an oil is as it cures, it's no longer going to be an oil and instead it's going to turn into a polymer. A protective polymer layer on the outside of the wood, and that's why it's not going to go rancid the same way that if you just leave a pool of oil outside might. Dab a little bit of cooking oil on a paper towel or even microfiber cloth. Rub it in all over the exposed wood. Give it a few moments and then using a dry part of the towel or cloth, just scrub off as much of it as you can. You'll find that the end grain exposed pieces will be pretty thirsty. That's okay. Once it's done, it might still feel a bit oily, but don't fear, just let it dry for a day or so, and then you'll have a really nice, well-maintained garden utensil. Now, this is a tip that I found out about 3 years ago, and since then, it's transformed my garden. 80% of successful gardening is understanding what to plant and when. And I think a problem that we really struggle with in Australia is matching up the 4 seasons to our actual weather patterns. Because guess what? Usually they don't match. And it actually kind of makes sense. The 4 seasons were invented in West Europe, and we've tried to take those concepts and transplant them at literally the opposite part of the globe. The tip is, for your local area, see if you can try and find an Indigenous calendar. For here in temperate Victoria, which will include Melbourne and also where I am, Gippsland, the local Indigenous calendar actually divides the year up into 6 seasons of all different lengths. And once I started looking at our weather patterns through that lens, everything really started to click. And all of a sudden, dividing up the year in a slightly different way actually gives us a lot more of the growing season. And one of the themes of the channel through this part of the year is that don't be under the impression that we sometimes get from England and the US that once winter is here, we stop growing. The reality is there's only a very small window where the temperatures dry off, and there's still a lot that we can grow. It just needs to be cold or frost tolerant. And even then, there's probably only a month in there before you get to start sowing your seeds that you're then going to transplant in spring. Awesome. The main purpose of my channel is to make sure that gardening is as approachable as possible, making sure to leave out all of the BS, only give you the essential information, and help you understand the things that you really need to know and leave out a lot of the clutter. So check out my complete beginning guide or just subscribe. It's completely free.
Is this really happening? I can't believe it's true. I'm just as surprised as you.